tolerate. Apparently they want more of it. Sandy says, we got that one. King Ginger says, what happens to Fannie's election if she is disbarred? Well, if she's disbarred, she would not have a law license anymore, so I don't think she could be the DA, probably by statute. But if she is disqualified, she could still get reelected. She could still be the DA of Fulton County, even if she's not on the Trump case. So disqualification would just happen to the Trump case, not to the others. This one is 51K says, the devil's a DA. It says, a little ditty inspired by the song The Charlie's Daniels Band. It is YouTube family friendly, but Rob, a forewarning, it is a bit of a tongue twister. I hope it brings you and the watchers a chuckle this morning. Okay, I'll let you guys read that on your own time. That's a long one. Sounds interesting. And we got some images of Fannie. Interesting. Looks like a good one there, 51K. We got this one from Chubby says, I would think the judge might view Fannie's excitement over the contester as a betrayal, if he is indeed compromised, as some people think, due to their past together. Maybe, yeah, and maybe the judge sees the writing on the wall. Maybe he says, I'm going to lose this, so I'm going to actually do justice now, right? Like it's a done deal. He knows he's going to be shown the door, so he decides appropriately. Chubby says, I would think the judge might view Fannie's excitement over the contester as a betrayal. Todd Scott says, Fannie going to get her campaign funds? Jesse Jackson, maybe? Everybody in Fulton, there's a big contingency there that apparently seems to support her. Glocky says, don't forget, she's charging taxpayers for a media consulting firm and a media analytics firm that is ran by Democrats to track her favorable ratings during media appearances. And yeah, that's that DeSantis guy. We got Hal Hey H. What's up, Hal? Welcome aboard, our newest supporter. Great to have you there. Love to have you. We got Glocky says, maybe the judge wrecks her in the DA's office because he knows he isn't going to win anyway, so he doesn't give a damn. Yeah, exactly. Great point. L. Murray says, Fannie has no shame. Total arrogance. As she walks out. Johnny D. What's up, Johnny D? Becoming a new supporter on the YouTubes. L. Murray says, put the pressure on McAfee. Yeah, it did. Good morning, my beautiful and blessed people. Good morning to you, beautiful and blessed L. Murray. Nice to have you here. We got Round to It, our newest supporter on YouTube. Welcome aboard, Round to It. Obscure Ocelot, which is very hard to find. It says a couple of reports on X are saying the Board of Ethics have determined they do not have jurisdiction over Fannie. And shout out to our friend Potentially Criminal. He's next door on YouTube. Does great legal analysis and also a criminal defense attorney, so it's even better than you'd think. We got this one from Flagpole Guy. What's up, Flagpole Guy? Look at this flag. It says, here's to happy Fannie and the best legal commentator on the tapes. Oh, may the Lord save America and may the people return to his sin. Look at this beautiful flag and that very happy puppy. We love a good American flag. Shining proudly. Well done, Flagpole Guy. Andrew the Bard says, are we streaming the State of Confusion tonight? I need your help to make it through. I don't think so. I think a lot of people are streaming that. A lot of people are responding to that. So I think we'll let that one go. I know Trump's doing a live reaction. I know Tucker Carlson, I think, is doing a live reaction. It's going to be good. There's going to be a lot of other good stuff. And he's just going to, drool all over himself. T. Lewis says, that would explain why Fannie was all giddy yesterday. She probably knew that was going to happen. Yeah, or maybe she had another, encounter with Nathan. Quarter Native says, she's the Fulton DA. How do they not have jurisdiction? That math ain't mathin'. That math ain't mathin'. Yeah, it's not adding up over there, is it? Hey, this one from Roy says, here's the amended meeting notification. Great. So they changed it. Amazing. So here's the amended meeting notification. They just took all Fannie stuff. All the Fannie stuff just got deleted. Just delete that, Perfect. Now we can have our meeting. What a joke. All right, so thanks for that one. And that was from MC. Chubby says, okay, so basically Fannie is not held accountable by anybody except McAfee. We'll see. The Senate's looking into it. Kemp should sign that new oversight board that was passed into law. We'll see if the state bar does anything. But no wonder she's endorsing this opponent who just appeared out of nowhere and seemingly after the filing deadline. Well, I think he's just squeezing in before the filing deadline. Like, it's very soon. It expires very soon, so he's going to squeeze it in. Voice of the People says, how does the Board of Ethics not have jurisdiction over government official with ethics violations? Good question. They didn't really give us much detail on their justification. Obviously, they thought they had authority. My question is how are they disambiguating it? Have other prosecutors from Fulton County come before that board and they're just separating Fannie out because of the fact that she's the DA? That probably is the only position. Yeah, okay. Says here, we got, it's Rebecca Starr says, I think the judge will do the right thing. I hope so too. Us Atlians are tired of corrupt politicians. Black women are tired of it. Yes, Fulton County is blue, but I'm not worried. Yeah, it's like you have to live with this stuff. Like this is a criticism that defense attorneys often get. It's like you want like dangerous criminals to like run free and take over our society. It's like, no, we don't. We have to live in the same society as the rest of you. So it's like not like we're like, yeah, let's just like murderers who just axe people to death run free. We have to live in the same society. Now we've got obligations, right? But we want to see safe societies, and our role is to help people and all the things. So I agree with that. It's like, can we set politics aside to say that we just don't want corruption in general? Or are we too politicized that we are just hard red or hard blue? Even when people are dying in your prisons and torching your streets and all those things. We'll see. Hey, Knox says, here's the board, chairman of the ethics board. He looks like Fannie does. Yeah, I believe that. Vice chair has links to Jesse Jackson. So the board might even be punting this because they have a political agenda. Not a surprise. Spud says, I assume an ideal date for Fannie and Wade would be to go to the delicatessen, indict a bunch of ham sandwiches, and then indict each other. Rivka, the Jade Gamer, says, wait. Did you say she endorsed McAfee's challenger? No, I don't think so officially. Like, she's not officially going to do that, but we know who she's voting for. Doesn't that force him to recuse himself because it would be guaranteed? It would be seen as political now? Yeah, I think there's good argument that if that guy wins, if Robert Patillo wins, I think he's already commented on this case and other things. I think he, as the judge, I think he would need to recuse himself, but he wouldn't be, I think he would need to recuse himself from the case if, say, he beats McAfee and gets on the case. But the theory is that his election is enough to pressure McAfee to not do that. Because if McAfee disqualifies, then he can't undo that order. I mean, she could appeal that, but he's not going to undo that order in that courtroom. Yeah, it's going to be very complicated. I think right now it's just about pressure on McAfee pre-decision and pre-election, just to warn him. Rob says, no one's above the law, especially Big Fannie. Ollie says, can we get Colonel Douglas McGregor for an interview? Yeah, that would be great. I don't do, obviously, a lot of interviews here because we have so much stuff to get through, and it's an added complexity that we don't do currently. I'd love to talk to Colonel Douglas McGregor, sharp dude. So I'll keep that on the list, Ollie. Thanks for the great suggestion. DJ Roach says the House of Representatives can impeach Fannie. They're in Georgia. I don't know Georgia statutes, but that sounds true. We got Glocky says, if you aren't worried about illegal immigration and a Rwanda-type genocide happening in America's own backyard.
All right, I'll be right back.
Salty says, Salty Southern Mom says, Georgia SB 98 establishes a prosecuting office's attorney's oversight board. They would be the ones who discipline Big Fannie. Yeah, and I think that's going to Governor Kemp's desk. So we'll see what he does with it. Flagpole Guy says, if McAfee caves to pressure, it won't make a difference to his career. The voting machines are rigged. The not-so-reverent reverends picked for the position will be filled in by the preferred. McAfee should do the right thing and trust God. I think that's a great solution. Heart of Inspiration says, okay, so by this pleading, the County Board of Ethics does have jurisdiction because they are hearing citizen complaints. They didn't want to hear it. They were a little bit nervous there. This morning they're like, I got an idea. We don't have jurisdiction. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, update the minutes. I wonder if they got some phone calls from Gabe in Fannie's office last night. Good to see you. Thank you, Hart. Rocky says, so the defense is saying, if Fannie was office, the Board of Supervisors would have never agreed to Wade. Fannie's team says the opposite. Well, why doesn't the judge just ask the Board of Supervisors what the truth is? Yeah, right. If Fannie went to the board and said, hey, I want to hire my lover, I need $700,000 for him, they'd say, no, not going to do that. She says, yeah, they would, because he's very, reputable. Just go ask them. We know what the answer is. Good to see you, Rocky. Chubby says, Fannie's to basically claim everything Trump's lawyers have been claiming for him that they've repeatedly discounted and argued against. Wow, they really do stick to their playbooks. Yeah, it's good insight. They do. Glocky says, so let me get this straight. In an American justice system, you can't hold judges accountable. No one has oversight over the DAs. Justice is administered or not administered based on political views and skin color. And I'm supposed to take cops and investigations and court rulings seriously? Diane M. says, the ethics board will not be hearing these complaints. Check out the update on local Atlanta TV stations. What a bummer. Yeah, they were excited for it too this morning. Roy says, considering most of the motion concerns Fannie as an elected official, would the judge be able to get around it by disqualifying Wade? And if he did, would the trial collapse? I don't think so. I don't think the judge could save Fannie. She's the other counterpart. I think he's got to get rid of her. And if he gets rid of her, he's got to disqualify the whole county. So it would go over. I think if he disqualifies Nathan but not Fannie, it's like, come on, you're just separating the lovebirds, and you think that's going to fix the underlying bias. This whole case emanated out of a tainted indictment and investigation because she hired her lover. So I think the whole office has to be disqualified. L. Murray says, seeking justice. What a joke. Chubby says, yeah, Fannie was elected to do the DA's job, which is to bring justice. The judge was also elected to do his job, ruling on legality. She's done many legally questionable things, so it is the judge's job to determine if she's broken any laws. Her entire argument falls apart when you use their defense and apply it to the judge as well. Joe Drum says, off topic, but is there any updates on Mr. Kelly, the Arizona rancher? Yeah, he's scheduled for trial any minute now. And on our members only stream, I think we talked about he's asking for jurors to be taken out to the scene. So he wants the jurors to go out to actually view the scene. I'm sorry, his defense attorney does. Because of the distances and the angles, they're saying that he shot an illegal alien, and he's saying there's no way. He was at where the shell casings were, he shot over their heads. He was down in the ravine. He couldn't hit him anyways, where the body was found, where the shots were. So they're trying to, the defense wants to bring literally the entire jury panel out to go see that. Should be very interesting. Dolphin fan is the man in the house, bringing in 5 membos. I was reading Don't Mind Me said March 26th is the date of the trial. Thank you, Don't Mind Me. We got Dolphin Fan is bringing in 5 new members. Snoopin, Will C, Sandy's coming in, Claudia H, Raul R is joining us, all courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man in the house. We got Rain. It says, doesn't their argument of never been the case for a corrupt DA destroy their RICO case, since there has never been a RICO case for a former president? Yeah, that's a great argument, right? You could say the same thing. They say, well, this has never happened before. Has a president ever been prosecuted before? Why did you think that you could do that here? And they would say, well, it's Trump's egregious conduct. Okay, well, then prove your claim. Right? So you can see how that could go both ways. But Knox says, just as there are collateral consequences of a conviction, there are collateral benefits associated with the connection to a big case. Marcia Clark is still making money off OJ. That's true, right? You write a book, you're the Trump prosecutor, you get a little documentary, for whatever you did. Ride that riff for a long time. We got Chubby says, unworkable interpretation. What? To hold a DA accountable for their actions while in office? Seriously? This is quite the reach. Was Fannie wearing a cast or a sling this morning? She has to have pulled something with this big of a stretch. She has to hold something with this big of a stretch. Her neck sore. She needs a neck brace from pulling so hard. This old guy says Fulton County is so blue that McAfee will probably be defeated in the upcoming election. This can work to actually reduce the political pressure on him if he truly wants to apply the law equally to Fannie as well as to the RICO defendants. If he really has nothing to lose, He is free to rule in favor of the proper application of the law from this old guy. We got Scorpid. It says Georgia ethics jurisdiction equals ethics.ga.gov/enforcement. So we can see what that looks like. Thank you for that, Scorpid. C. Nana says, didn't Fannie refuse to allow pleas and separate cases and a move to federal courts? Well, I think she did oppose motions to sever. She did oppose motions to remove to federal court, and she did. There were 4 plea deals that were entered, but they were conversion deals, so they're not going to result in convictions. They would be dismissed, provided that the 4 co-defendants, Chesebro, Hall, Sidney Powell, Jenna Ellis, provided they all complete probation, their charges should be dismissed. Patrick Parker, 17 months as a membo, almost 2 full babies, says, how do you think the left is going to? Well, this is how they do things. I mean, they weaponize positions. Tish James is weaponized, Bragg, Fannie Willis. Pick thrill. Oh, perfect. A corrupt judge who does whatever we want to. Great. Dustin Frey says Senator Jones in yesterday's hearing claimed no conflict can exist if it can be remedied, meaning there is a remedy for the conflict. There was never a conflict, among other fallacies. Yeah, he also had that dumb fallacies like if you have money, if you make a lot of money, that means you don't steal, or whatever that argument was. Remember? Fannie Willis makes a lot of money, okay? So she doesn't need your $3,000, all right? And that means she didn't steal. It's like, wow, that's a new defense. Okay, so any client can just use that as a defense now? He had money, so why would he steal? Well done, Senator Jones. Sheesh. Gino, what's up, Gino? Says, long-time listener. Thank you for being here for a long time, Gino. Very nice. First-time dono. To me, the biggest issue is threatening the ex-wife with prosecution. If they did not allow new evidence in this case, can the defense file a new motion to disqualify? I don't think so. I don't think the judge is going to hear that again, unless like something else, really big happens. He's going to say, this is the argument. Like, bundle your stuff up here. But no, I mean, I think if the other co-defendants didn't join this, I don't think that they're going to be afforded the opportunity to file another one. Again, unless it's substantially different, they'll probably just say, I've reviewed this issue and it's settled. But I agree with you, it was really disgusting what he did to the ex-wife. And then, of course, Nathan just settled aggressively to close that whole thing out. He didn't want to continue to litigate that. And Fannie was interfering and threatening her boyfriend's wife. It's sick. Good to see you, Gino. Thanks for jumping in with the donut today. NY says, Fannie defense forgets that it is not just a conflict, it's also prosecutorial misconduct. Forensic misconduct is like perjury, witness intimidation, unlawful use of, threat of prosecution in a civil divorce would meet that standard. Yeah, not good. Not good that she did that. Hopefully the judge acts accordingly. Roger Needham says, Senator Jones also implied the average American family can spend 17 grand on vacations every 6 months, based on Forbes reporting that the average fam of 4 spends $3,700 on vacation. Another stupid argument. And there was like 4 vacations in like 6 months. There was one right after the other. So maybe one $3,700 vacation, you throw the kids in the car, travel up to the mountains or whatever. But it's not a month. That's clearly the difference. Sandy says, no Anna Cross again. Should someone call for a welfare check? Even the defense is noticing that, Sandy. I know you've been noticing that at length here. Lauren C. What's up, Lauren? Thanks for sending this one in. Very nice super chat. Appreciate you. Joe B1 Kenobi says ethics be damned. Leave Fannie alone. She's on a mission from God. It's from the Blues Brothers.
Thanks, Joko.
From Joe B1 Kenobi. Trust the force, Joby. We got Water Jabber says the Fulton County DA doesn't qualify as a county employee. Yep. Checks out for Georgia politics. We got TJ Elton says if Big Fannie is to be held to a higher standard, shouldn't that higher standard be applied to Trump as well? Asking for 200,000 of us. Well, I mean, Fannie basically is for a standard that she can do whatever she wants all the time without any consequences. And I think actually that's what a lot of the left say Trump is asking for, but that's not what we're actually saying. We're saying that the president under the Constitution has codified powers, and under Marbury we have separation of powers and all of those justifications that establish presidential immunity. And there's a mechanism in our Constitution to breach that. It's called the impeachment proceedings. So we have a mechanism to challenge all of that. Now, in other words, what they're asking for is for Trump's standard to be ultra low, right? He can be indicted for anything, and anything, and for Fannie's standard to be very high. So it's, again, two standards of justice everywhere you look. Good to see you, TJ. Sean is here. Says, if this case is reopened, can the Trump defense team call VP Harris as a witness and ask her what was discussed at the White House meeting with Wade Harris and the mayor of Atlanta? It's a good question. I think the answer is going to be no. Personally, I think the judge would disqualify that. I mean, he might, but the argument would be that Harris could impeach Fannie, right? So, like, yeah, the theory would be like, yes, just like these other people that have come in, like the cell phone guy, for example. Wade said no. I didn't call her at all. I didn't go over there at all. Cell phone guy comes out. He says, yeah, you did. You were over there. I could triangulate you on the cell towers. So that evidence being used to impeach Nathan Wade, right? That would be admissible. Fannie said, I never went to the White House. Well, we got records that say that you met with Kamala. So maybe we bring in Kamala to impeach Fannie Willis. Now, I think that is legally something that could happen. Practically, the answer, I think, is most likely no. The judge would probably find some reason saying it's not relevant, or it's not the best evidence. We can find other evidence, or she's got immunity, qualified immunity in some way. Who knows? But it's an interesting theory. I'd love to see VP Harris come in and testify. Patricia N. says, Rob, if Patillo becomes a judge, would he have to give up his talk show and appearances and social justice work? Yeah, probably. I think that I've never been a judge, but I think there's probably a bunch of rules that say that you can't have anything that conflicts with your judgeship, right? So commenting like on open cases and stuff like that, I think would be a risk. And like the social justice stuff, right? Judges can't have appearance of improprieties. So if that is a political justice work or political appearances, I think he'd have to cut back down on those, because basically his career in those appearances on his talk show and his social justice work is about the issues, which might mean that defendants coming before him might believe he's biased on issues. Nemo says, here's a jurisdiction question. Could the Cobb County DA prosecute Fannie for obstruction because Bradley was in Cobb County at the time of the incident? I don't think so. I think the obstruction would be connected to the obstruction that took place in Fulton County. So I think the better forum, the better person to investigate and prosecute that would be the state AG, not the Cobb County. We got G. Terrant. What's up? Says, hasn't Fannie potentially admitted to receiving kickbacks in the form of gifts and trips from a contractor she funneled work to, ironically, under the public corruption laws? She says that she didn't. She says she paid everything back in cash, right? That's her testimony. No, it was even Stevens. I always paid him back in cash. Any receipts? No. Does he have any receipts? No. Where'd you get it? Publix. So I don't think she admitted, to receiving anything like that. Her claim still, which is dishonest, is that it was all even Stevens. Frank L. says, you are right. If not dismissed, Fan Wade, and they lead it, yes. Yeah, that was a theory we put up here, right? Like, if the judge is not going to disqualify Fannie is like the gift that keeps on giving, right? She's probably going to dig herself further into a hole as this whole thing unfolds, because she's got so much arrogance and incompetence combined into one. Those are not good combos. Sandy says, is it possible Anna filed a sealed notice of withdrawal due to disparaging remarks needing to be made? This is an old late 80s movie called From the Hip that is about exactly what Anna did. Anna's duty was to seek justice. She knew Bradley was lying and allowed the truth to come out in court. And my friends, I think we're just about out of time on locals. So hang on a second. Let me get another feed going on our locals stream, and then we will continue on. Let's make sure we're not losing our friends. We're gonna get right back into the comments here in a second. As soon as we get this fired up. We have a time limit on our locals, and so sometimes we hit that time cap, and then we gotta just reconnect the tubes, which is what we're doing right now. And I'm just talking to kind of fill in the air. You know, so it doesn't sound so weird when you just sit here. We got this tube being connected. Hip bone goes to the elbow. Elbow goes down to the knee bone. And okay, so now Locals is back live. And we're kicking that off. All right, so thank you for your patience on that, my friends. And yeah, I don't know if she filed, I don't think she filed a sealed notice of withdrawal. She's probably just MIA, just kind of going into hiding. Tim R, what's up, Tim R, our newest supporter over on the Rumbles. Very great to have you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We also have this one from Warrior Heart. It says, if the judge doesn't boot Fannie out, can't Trump appeal the whole thing? Yes, I think that he can. So the likelihood that this case goes to trial, and the question will be, is it still on stay when, like, is the case stayed while it's pending appeal? And I think the answer would be yes. So the likelihood that this goes to trial before the election, I think, is very, very low. Mark Fine, what's up? As our newest supporter, welcome aboard, Mark. Great to have you. We got Knox Bierman, says he looks like Fannie's dad, not does. He was involved in the Black Power movement. Interesting. I think there's a lot of that going on in the Fannie household. Thank you, Knox. Rivka, the Jade Gamer, says, right, I meant force McAfee to recuse since any disciplinary action would be taken as retaliation. You mean force McAfee to recuse? Like if Fannie endorsed the other guy? I don't think that would recuse, if that's what you're asking. But you might not be. I think I'm confused. But Rivka, thank you for the dono. Good to see you on Rumble. Mustafa says, of course, all the Fannie cases should be considered suspect now. That is particularly why the DA should be ethically flawless. Investigate all her cases. Exactly. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. It's that domino effect, okay? All the criminal defense attorneys in Georgia right now are going hog wild. Londo says, Rob, this just makes me angry. Curse you for dashing my hopes. Not really, but it is beyond upsetting. Yeah, they always pull it out of their booty, don't they? They just pull it out, and now it changes the whole balance of power there in Georgia. Jennifer says, any State of the Union live stream? I don't think so. I think we'll let other people who can tolerate Joe Biden for an extended period of time cover that one. But it should be fun. We'll do a debrief in the morning. Jennifer, you're a member. We'll do a debrief in the morning and see what's going on. We got Art Taylor says, Ashley showed Fannie and Fulton, and the mayor went to see Kamala. Then came this RICO indictment. She did a great job explaining how grand juries work, things prosecutors don't want people to know or think about. When the opposition senator said Wade was there for Fannie's pleasure, garbage case, I know, that was funny. He was there, he works at her pleasure. We're all like, ew, no. Garbage cases are such a waste of taxpayer dollars. They're literally ruining amazing loyal Americans, threatening people to think twice to support Trump. Solitary confinement, anyone? No? Better watch yourself. From R. Taylor in the house. Yeah, that was a gross comment. Bad visuals. The Mad Ruski says, I watch you all the time. I figure I won't leech and can at least give a bit to the channel. Thank you, the Mad Ruski. The Mad Ruski. Ruski? Good to see you, the Mad Ruski. Thank you for that. Very generous dono. And I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Glad that you watched. And hope to see you back. We got Cal66 Caliber. A nice super chat coming in here. Thank you, Caliber. No question, but grateful for that. Here's one from, what is this? Here's what it says. Justice rise on up. Please show us who they are. All hell's broke loose in Georgia, and these devils working hard. Ego's the sin that'll do her in. Big Fanny got no soul, and truth will win, and the law will uphold. When Gouveia opened his stream, us watchers said, let's go. The fire flew from his content that Fulton's quite the show. And we all watched in total shock, not expecting this. On the stand, she made demands, told lies about her bliss. When that devil finished, we all knew just what they'd done. She sat down in that chair. Her lies left us stunned. Soon rebel. On the day we know they've all been beat, high will raise that freedom symbol and toast to liberty's feet. Gouveia will say, devils, don't come back. Don't you ever try again. I done told you, Democrats, the watchers are here. Amen. That is from 51K in the house, I do believe. And 51K, what a beautiful poem. And thank you for sharing that with us. The Watcher fam marches on. Thank you for that, 51K. We got Felix says, everyone is seeing the Rodham Clinton tactics. We're watching it on display right now. Our Taylor says, ethics committees canceled because DAs don't have ethics, LOL. Powerfully connected, corrupt politicians with deep pockets most likely set this RICO case up and will continue to use any means possible behind the scenes to destroy and to win. It's happening. The gears are moving there in Georgia. We got Pamela says, I have to chuckle about Wade not wanting his kid affected by his divorce. I wonder what his kids think of all this. They're probably grossed out too. They're probably hanging with moms and then dad's a total loser. Tiger Shark is here. What's up? Gifting another membo. Welcome aboard, D Crouch. Zone Girl says, I thought the senator was shocked that she talked with authors of the newly released book before a jury has been called. Nothing like dirtying the jury pool, plus more sullying it in the churches. And Felix says, the State of the Union messed up from the floor up because of Trump. Spawn Dog says, been there with you since the beginning. I was there when Miss Faith was even behind the scenes. That's a long time ago. Spawn Dog, you've been here for a while. We're very grateful to have you. Thank you for the dono and the shout out. My friends, let us say hello to our friends on the X platform before we wrap it up. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only debrief, and we would love to see you join us over there. But let's see who is on the X and who is here in the house. That is not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. How many people are watching us over here? Oh my goodness, we got Sunshine State of Mind. We got Rob's in the house. We got Kat Ryan says, looks like it was taken off the schedule. Morticia says, Fanny wasn't worried at all on the video you played early this morning. She may have heard some very good news on how this judge is going to rule. It was over-the-top happiness, considering her situation right now. Something seems to be up. Well, yeah, they may have just, pumped her full of Zoloft or whatever. And said, be nice, okay? Stop screaming like a demented psychopath. I need water and glasses. Like, relax. Hey, we got this one. Says, apparently, county attorney is not a state constitutional officer. There are 4 county positions that are a constitutional officer. Generally, it's sheriff, court clerk, tax commissioner, probate judges. Not Fanny. Well, they said they couldn't hear it anyways. Isn't that fun? Hey, what's up, Crypto Nerd? Says Texas is watching. Shout out to our friends in Texas. We got Woosta Sauce, Big Hop, Hip Hop Thinker. Big stories here. Kathleen Hastings says, is it possible that because of the new board overseeing the DAs that they do not have jurisdiction any longer? That could be true. Maybe that's why. There was something else that came in. And we got Silicon Valley Reject. We got Moni's over there. We got Rob's in the house and Sunshine State of Mind all on the X platform. And my friends, if you want to follow us over there, definitely go and do that. At Rob ESQ, and of course, follow all of the other watchers out there in the wilderness all across the country on the internet. But my friends, that is it for us on the day. It was an early show today, a little bit of a letdown. But we were still able to cover some good stuff. We're going to turn those into segments again, so they're a little easier to find. If you missed something, if you got here late, we did cover some good ground today. We did talk a lot about what's happening in Georgia, just didn't have the hearing. So we are going to leave it there. We're going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. Let's see what we got. Some other comments come in as we were wrapping up. Spawn Dog, what's up?
include the car yet being in the notes.
Okay.
No, I mean, there's as I said, the 60 or so that came in from the outside, they did so quote unquote quoting the charging up as part of the bond. And that's the way the prosecutors like to characterize it. And just as they characterized me, they're trying to characterize my actions as being part of the bond. I entered with the bond. That's the language in all of these charging documents.
So you document everything, but before we even get into what happened afterwards, FBI interviews and whether or not you knew or thought you were going to be charged, what's the most interesting thing that you saw while you were in there documenting, either in terms of the violence of the protesters or in terms of the antagonism of the police officers or in terms of the absolute absence of or efficiency of police officers for an event of that nature?
Yeah, the first and most significant thing that I saw is that when the crowds did, in fact, let's start moving through freely without opposition, because there was a point where there was no longer opposition, and we should, while I'm doing this, I'm going to dispel a major rumor of the right wing related to January 6th. Not a single police officer, Capitol Police, Metropolitan PD, opened the doors for protesters that day. Every single one of the 7 doors that were breached that day were breached, first of all, by a protester who had entered through some other passageway, through a window, broken window, or through another door. And then as hundreds of them began to spread out through the Capitol, then they started the process of triggering those electromagnetic locks on those doors. It's a very simple DC fire code situation. Every single one of those doors have a sign on it that says hold the bar for 3 seconds, and then 15 seconds later the magnetic lock will release. Okay? Now, what we've seen is videos where some of the law enforcement subsequently, after it had already been triggered, held the door open, or stood by and allowed people to come in.
And did in fact waive people, because it wasn't one of the judgments, the acquittals, before the judge said he waived them in. How? Okay, so that might be not a misunderstanding. That might be a distinction without a difference to many if the cops are holding the doors open after they've been triggered, waving people in. All right, so we agree in substance and how you frame it. If they want to say that they didn't open the doors, they just held them open. Okay, some people might say distinction without a difference, but relevant nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, if you're one of 3 officers or 4 officers standing at that door and 400 people are trying to get in it, you're probably just going to stand down. You're not.
Yeah, I mean, then it gets back to the question: is so in the holy name of sweet everything that's holy, would there only have been 3 or 4 officers, bike racks, when they knew there were at least however many permanent events that were going to carry more people than what they could have handled anyhow?
Well, that's a great question that I probably know more about than anybody else, because 90% of my post Oath Keepers trial investigations have been focused on the United States Capitol Police and the failure thereof. But to get back to your original question about what was the most interesting thing I saw, the single most interesting thing I saw at first was the stand down of law enforcement standing off to the side with their cell phones, probably texting their wives and telling them that they're okay. Because this is being broadcast all over the world by this time, and making phone calls and chatting in small groups. As the sea of humanity, the sedition hunters estimate that they've identified over 3,500 people that actually entered the Capitol, quote unquote, illegally, and that's a much bigger number than was originally announced even by the Department of Justice. They were originally estimating that between 800 and 1,200 people, but they've got it up to 3,500 identified cases.
Am I wrong in maybe saying that they're also expanding the restricted area so that they can just grab more people, or is this going into the building proper?
This is just the building itself. Now, if they
that's crazy, man.
They have made to expand that. I just don't see how they can do it.
Well, isn't the city council mostly run by Somalis now?
100 actual.
I know your representative is.
Defendants charged. If they're going to try and get that up to 3,500 in the next 22 months before the statute of limitations runs out, I just don't see them accomplishing that.
All right, so you go in there. How long are you in for? How much footage did you capture? What was done with that footage? And when do you realize that you might be in trouble?
I was inside the building for 37 minutes, and then I concluded my most important documentation with the extraction of Ashley Babbitt out of the building. As I was being led out of the building by a very, very sweet, pleasant young Capitol Police officer, female, she came up to me as I was looking for a restroom. By the way, I'd been on Capitol grounds for quite a number of hours without ever seeing a porta potty of any kind, and so I was in the lower level of the Capitol looking for a restroom. A young Capitol Police officer came up and took me by my arm, and he said, "Sir, can I safely escort you out of the building?" I said, "Do I need to be safely escorted out?" She said, "Yes, sir, you do." Okay, right there, no resistance. And by the way, we have that scene on video on Capitol CCTV, so we can show that there was never a moment where I resisted law enforcement. And so as she leads me towards that door, she's trying to distract me. She's on my right side, and there's something going on over on the left side, and she's talking to me, trying to distract me. And then finally I jerk my head over, and just 6 feet from me, I see FBI medics feverishly working on a person in a pool of blood. I did not know it was Ashley Babbitt. Didn't even know it was a woman at the time. And so I'm giving the very short version of this story. But as we were going out the door, the fire department's paramedics were coming in with the gurney, so I had to step out of the way of that. And then, of course, again, instinct, it's kind of common sense. What goes up must come down, what goes in must come out. I knew that if the gurney went in that door, that gurney's coming out that door.
Well, I mean, she did marry her brother, right?
Wheelchair ramp, went back and posted up for about 5 minutes waiting on that ramp of that gurney to come back out. And when it did, I was able to follow her extraction while they were continuing. Now they had transferred the CPR to the paramedics, but she was surrounded by a tactical unit, with long rifles. And so as they're moving her down the ramp, and I'm following down the ramp with my camera, that's the first time that I realized that it was a woman. And you can actually hear me in my shock on my own narration go, something to the effect, "Holy shit, it's a woman." And then I say, "And she's not going to make it," because I could see not only was her face leaned or tilted towards me with the blank eyes, she was bare-breasted. No doubt that it was a woman at that moment, and of course, as we know, it was out in the news. Probably that was exactly 3 o'clock when they extracted her from the building, and then it was a couple hours we learned that she had died.
Okay, and it was pretty clear from what you saw at that moment that she was in fact dead at that point.
I texted it out to about 3 different people right then. I said,
"That's awesome, John.
Woman's been dead. She's not going to make it."
And after that, so you follow them out, and then where do you go after that?
That is where I get myself in the first bit of trouble. As I was wandering out on the east side now, because I've entered from the west side, so I'm now wandering out on the east side, and I walk up on a camera crew from WUSA outside of the restricted area. By the way, it was up in the grassy area that was outside of the barricade lines. Of course, the barricades are all gone by now. But as I'm wandering by them, no purpose whatsoever, they're all hearing over their radio. They're getting called in from, their headquarters that somebody's been shot in the building. And so I'm hearing this radio comm discussion between these WUSA camera crew and reporters. And I said to them, "Oh, yeah, I've got..." They're like, "What?" I said, "Yeah. Can we see?" And I showed them my video. They asked me if they could use it. I gave them the video free of charge, and then they wanted to interview me for about 15 minutes. And so they did. They did an interview for about 15 minutes with the Capitol backdrop behind me. And then I finally, after that, was able to walk several blocks away and find a sandwich shop that had a public restroom. I got a sandwich, and while I was having that sandwich, WUSA's head anchor for their news program called me, and he wanted to interview me. So I went out on the sidewalk on the street, set up my tripod, camera, microphone, and then I did about another 10 or 15 minute interview with them, which they, of course, then cut down to about 10 seconds of 30 minutes of in context statements, cut down to 10 seconds where you hear, and you supported this, and I say 100%. Like, okay, I got 30 minutes or so of interview, and they use that much to frame up my intent for the day.
I'm channeling my inner Stewie now. What did you learn, Steve? this is why no one wants. Don't do an interview with MSM unless it's going to be unedited. Unless, I mean, I presume you recorded your own copy, but it's not worth much at the time the damage is already done.
Well, as a matter of fact, I have not done an interview with MSM since then, unless they publish the entire statement, and some of them have done that. Or they allow me to record, and I set up my tripod and I record them shooting me, or they say no, we won't allow it.
You're done. You know it's a liability, not an asset at that point.
Yep.
So I mean, done with the judge. Yes, then we got to get into, like, when do you get the inkling, or when do you get notified that you're under investigation, in trouble? Meetings with the FBI, and more importantly, I won't forget, but your footage was used in the January 6th committee, and if I'm not mistaken, in some of those montages that they put together.
Yeah, I have. Other people have told me that. I personally have not seen that because I wasn't able to watch all 8 of those, because actually some of those hearings were happening during the Oath Keepers trial, and I was in court. But the point being is that I was told that people had seen that. The most likely one is
the Ashley Babbitt.
Yeah, it was the Ashley Babbitt, because that's been used in HBO documentaries, New York Times documentary, Epic Times, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's been the most used of my video footage that day. But a lot of my clips have been used by news agencies and documentarians all over the world.
And so now tell us, like, when do you start to think or get notified that you might be in trouble?
Well, they started making arrests the next day, and they started making, and the Department of Justice was announcing their threats the next day. So by the time my colleague and I, it's a 4.5-hour drive from DC back to Raleigh, North Carolina, and by the time we got home, we realized that this could be perilous. We could be in jeopardy. Now, he didn't go inside the building. We got separated very early in the melee on the west front, and then he just went back to the hotel, and then I continued doing what I was doing. And so by the time I got home, I realized that I needed to squirrel myself away somewhere, which I did for 5 days. I did not stay home. At the very least, I wanted to get a story written, and I wanted to get my videos reviewed. So I spent 5 days doing a frame-by-frame analysis of my video, which of course taught me that there was a lot more going on than what I saw with my own eyes. You can only capture so much in such a highly kinetic event like that. You know, you're not seeing 95% of what your camera is capturing. And so once I had finished the frame-by-frame review, I started writing my story, and then on January 13th, I published the 9,500 words.
That's funny, Chalver.
What I saw on January 6th on my blog.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to ask where you published it.
Yeah, you can get that on Logos.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I published my story and I uploaded some of my video onto Rumble, I said, okay, I'm going home.
No, I believe you.
And then if they come get me, they come get me. At least I've got my story out before that happens. And then I didn't hear from them till July, and I was actually speaking at a Libertarian Party event, I think in Reston, Virginia, on a Friday night. And on a Thursday morning, I get a call from a local special agent of the FBI, Garrett Doss, and he says, hey, this Special Agent Doss with the FBI. The first thing I said to him is, what took you so long? and then he said, I see that you're going to be in D.C. or in the D.C. area tomorrow night. He goes, I was just wondering if you had a couple of hours early in the afternoon to sit down with some of my guys. And I said, oh, I said, I'm actually going to be there early, but, my attorney can't be there, so sorry. And he's like, oh, okay. And so...
Sorry, what date was this again?
This was mid-July.
Mid-July. Okay, so 6 months later.
Yeah,
okay.
6 months later. And so then it gets interesting from there.
There you go.
So the first thing that we do is I turned this over to, I got Agent Doss's phone number, turned this over to my attorney. My attorney then, he took it from there. No more communication from me. And then once they got the date, and they to be honest with you, they knew I was not a violent offender. They had already established that. They probably knew that I traveled so much and came back home every time that I was not a flight risk. They knew that I had a higher profile than 99% of the potential defendants that day anyway. And so they were very cooperative with my travel schedule. And as I said, I was traveling during this entire time, during the lockdowns. And so we set a date sometime for my interview, my voluntary interview, and a cooperative interview, as they say.
Just to clarify, this is for an investigation into you and not for their investigation into others by this point?
100%.
Okay.
Absolutely. So
sit down with these. Not that I don't trust the FBI after having seen what they did to Michael Flynn for voluntary interviews, but you got counsel and you didn't do it alone, so you're one step ahead of other mistakes that other people have made.
But this is, as I said, this is where it gets interesting. So on the scheduled day, my attorney and I show up at the field office there just outside of Raleigh. We are escorted inside the outer gates. All FBI field offices now have a big iron gate around them, and they're impenetrable palaces now. And so then we are met and greeted at the door by two special agents who then first proceeded to tell us that we may not be able to, we're sorry, but we may not be able to do the interview today. Something has come up. And they said, give us just 10 minutes and we'll be right back. Have a seat here in the lobby. Give us 10 minutes and we'll be right back. So they disappear behind the secret secure doors and disappear out of our sight. And I look over at my attorney. I said, I wonder what's going on. Is something going on in the world right now? And my attorney goes, no, this is about you. And I went, how could you discern that was about me? He goes, no. He said, they may actually be coming back out here with handcuffs in a moment. They may be about to place you under arrest. And I'm like, he said, they may very well have just lured you.
Nice.
As opposed to finding you where you could have otherwise always easily been found.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's what my attorney is saying, sitting on the sofa next to me. So it took them about a half hour before they came out. And when they came out, they began to explain that just before I arrived, they got a call from D.C. from the Department of Justice to say you cannot interview him because as a member of the press, as a journalist, we have to have express written permission from the United States Attorney General's office to interview a member of the press. Boom. And so...
let's say you and your attorney heard that.
Absolutely.
Not in writing anywhere.
Oh, yes, we have it in writing.
Okay. All right.
Yes, because now, game on, because now the negotiation between my attorney and the U.S. Attorney's Office to negotiate a proffer agreement for me to sit down cooperatively as an acknowledged member of the press from the United States government. So they did negotiate the proffer agreement. It took another couple of months. We did the interview in late October, or mid to late October.
If you could clarify, proffer agreement under this context means what? The scope of what they're going to ask you?
Yeah, in this particular case, the most essential element of that proffer agreement is that nothing that I said in that interview could ever be used against me in court if I was ever charged, unless I perjured myself in the interview.
Nothing you say in that could be used against you if you're charged, which means that you could still be charged, notwithstanding the fact that they've acknowledged that you're a journalist. And then what's the benefit of sitting down to discuss that with them, even if they give you this proffer?
Well, there is no benefit, but let me just explain that.
Okay.
When we sat down, when the interview finally happened, and my attorney and I are sitting on one side of the table, the other two agents are sitting on the other side of the table. I put my hands on the desk. I said, gentlemen, before we get going, I said, let me just establish this. I said, every single law enforcement officer, past, present, future, retired, otherwise, that follows my blog have chastised me for taking this interview. They've all said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. You don't have to do it. Including this guy sitting next to me, my attorney, said, don't do it. I said, I'm here today because I'm going to ask you as many questions as you ask me. Let's rock. And that's what I did. It was just my pure journalistic curiosity. That's what I did.
Well, I know what they asked you. What did you ask them?
Oh, I asked them all kinds of questions. I mean, they were at times very frustrated with me because my answers were nowhere, it was nothing like what they expected, but it was also led to intense discussions about how the day unfolded, the things that I saw, just like the pullback order versus the stand down order. Those types of discussions were things that they no expectation would be part of this interview. And I anticipate now that through the process of discovery, I will be given, because that was a video recorded interview, so I will be given the opportunity to actually use that at some point.
That chess move might pay dividends down the road. And what sort of, are they asking you typical things like, how'd you get there? What did you do? What did you see? Why were you there? Give us some recordings. So, standard stuff.
Well, and of course they had already established a gigantic portfolio of me. They had printed off reams of my articles, and because with all January 6 cases, if they can't get you on a crime, they get you for your thought crimes or your scary words that you said before or after. That's what they were looking for from me, because as I told them at the outset, I said, why are we even doing this? I said, you have me on 1,000 cameras.
You know everything. You could pinpoint, geolocate every moment of your day. Easy.
Yes. And I said, and I committed no violence and no property damage. To which they said yes, and we want to thank you. It's on camera. Thank you for not committing violence against law enforcement that day. So they made that statement themselves. But here's an interesting moment, and this relates directly to the statement of facts that have been used to justify the charges against me. And one of those is when I said in a interview, me and my best friend, at 11 o'clock that night on the 6th, we turn a camera on. We've got a couple of adult beverages. We're sitting there and we're, doing a kind of a debrief post-mortem of our day and what we saw and of our experiences. And as I'm talking about when I went into the hallway, which was the speaker's offices, the hallway where Nancy Pelosi's office was, is that I said at one point I saw damage. The first time I had seen actual real property damage, where they had turned over desks, tables, rifled through bookshelves, knocked papers and books off onto the floor. As soon as I saw that, you can actually see me in my own video. As soon as my camera catches property damage, I whisk around and get the hell out of Dodge. I'm not going in to where bad things like that are happening. So that happens instantly. So on the, we're joking around, we're yucking it up, and I say something to the effect of, and I actually say, I said, I use this word. I said, unfortunately, I saw damage in her offices, but it couldn't happen to a more deserving bitch. So I said that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the FBI agents asked me why I said that. And this is exactly my answer, which I hope to one day have that in discovery and I can play it for you.
Because she is a bitch.
Well, I didn't double down, but everybody's normal response has been, what's wrong with that? You're just telling the truth. But the reality is that my actual answer to them, when they said, why did you say that? I said, because it wasn't McConnell's office. I said, if it was McConnell's office, I would have said it couldn't happen to a more deserving bastard. I said, what part of me being a libertarian and hating both sides do you not get?
This might come back to bite you in the ass, but we'll see. They're going to say, okay, you're just an anarchist then. They're going to throw the book at you. You're detested by both sides of the uni party.
Yeah.
But so they, I mean, this is the thing though. They have everything on you. Everything that they've been investigating this for 6 months. To call you in, what is it to do? They know that they're going to charge you, presumably. Is it to try to add on perjury or, I don't know, obstruction of justice in addition to the 4 bullshit charges that you're facing?
I don't think if we're talking about by up until October.
All right, Chopper. I haven't looked at the last video you sent me yet. I'll check it out when I get in my office.
Felony charge on me. They certainly
Have a great day. Thanks for riding with me, buddy.
Had enough problems with my analysis.
A couple other people popped in, but they didn't say anything.
They wanted to take me out or scare me away or back me off.
All right, guys.
But something happened.
Thanks for riding with me. Love you. Talk to you later.
Email that my attorney got